Henry Kissinger said, "It may be dangerous to be America's enemy, but to be America's friend is fatal." Recently, Mexico has proven that if the United States tries to threaten you, the only way to avoid being exploited is to resist it to the end. Any compromise will only lead to greater misfortune. I'm Derek, and welcome to today's topics. On 4th of November, Donald Trump falsely accused Mexico and China and said he will slap tariffs against the two countries because of the fentanyl inside the United States. In response to this, the Chinese foreign minister pointed out that China is one of the countries in the world with the most strict anti-drug policies and the most thorough enforcement. And the proliferation of fentanyl is the United States' own problem. Professor Guo Yongliang of the Chinese People's Police University pointed out that the root of the fentanyl crisis in the United States lies within the country itself, caused by its inadequate regulation of fentanyl, loopholes in the healthcare system, and the social and cultural flaws. The fundamental solution lies in the United States reducing both domestic demand and supply. Moreover, the U.S. is instrumentalizing the fentanyl issue for the purpose of extortion, which is short-sighted and harmful behavior. Therefore, China will not accept this slander and will not foot the bill for Americans' extortion. Regrettably, while Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum also realized that fentanyl was just a tool for extortion, but chose to compromise initially. On 22nd of November, she said the government has gone on a campaign to get companies to replace Chinese parts with the locally made ones. However, 3 days later, Donald Trump announced that he plans to slap a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico on his first day in office. According to the Independent's report, Donald Trump and his team are reportedly debating how much to invade Mexico once he takes office. This soft invasion would involve American special forces assassinating cartel leaders in Mexico. Clearly, no matter how Mexico extends goodwill, the United States will not give up using fentanyl as a pretext for extortion or even invasion. On the other hand, this will further push Mexico to cooperate with China and eventually make a North American Free Trade Agreement no longer important for Mexico. This is because China is creating more jobs and investing more to Mexico than the US. According to Foreign Policy, in 2023 alone, Chinese companies announced plans to invest $12.6 billion in Mexico. However, the Washington-based Rodin Group reposted that Chinese investment in Mexico could be 6 times more than what is reflected in official data. These investments especially focus on EV industry. According to Bloomberg, Chinese automaker BYD's plans to build a plant in Mexico will create around 10,000 jobs. According to China Briefing, from 2020 to 2023, the arrival of new Chinese firms in Mexico has grown 2.8 times. Simultaneously, World Bank's data shows Mexico's unemployment rate fell from 4.44% to 2.81% during the last 3 years. However, Trump called what China's building in Mexico is the monster car manufacturing plants. What makes the situation worse is that Trump is planning to implement the largest deportation in the history of our country. According to the Washington Post, nearly half of the estimated 11 million people living illegally in the United States are Mexican. Deporting them is cheaper and easier than sending migrants back to move distant countries such as Venezuela. Sending millions of jobless Mexicans back to towns they left years ago could create chaos. On the other hand, Statista Research Department reported that in 2023, the U.S. investment in Mexico is over $30 billion, down from $20 billion in the previous year. And so far, Trump has not announced any plans to help Mexico create any jobs. The U.S. not only disrespects Mexico's goodwill, but also intends to push it into unemployment and turmoil, which wakes Mexico to rise up with arms. On 27th of November, Mexico's president and economy ministry have given the most clear picture yet of how their government will respond to Donald Trump's tariffs, which will cost 400,000 US jobs. For example, most pickup trucks sold in the US are manufactured in Mexico, while Trump's tariffs would hike $3,000 to the cost of a new vehicle, which is a huge expense for the U.S. transportation industry and a small business owner. Furthermore, according to The Atlantic, American farming heavily depends on undocumented workers. If the Trump administration were to enact the largest deportation operation in American history, 50% of the people who plant crops and pick fruit in the U.S. farms would leave the domestic workforce. Proponents of immigration enforcement typically say these jobs could be taken by documented of American-born workers. But the farm industry is already in a prolonged labor crisis, and undocumented immigrants tend to be willing to work for less money. That's why employers hire them, even though it's illegal. Fewer workers mean higher wages and higher prices. After Brexit, the UK once had a shortage of slaughter workers, which led to a livestock on farmers being unable to be sold, and the price of meat products in the market soared. It seems that Trump has not learned the lessons of his allies. For Mexican farmers, they always knew how to use Mexican land to feed the Mexican people until the American coal dumping came. The United States should really think carefully about whether it is the United States that needs the hard work of Mexican more, or Mexico that needs more US dollar that has already overissued 2.33 trillion. That's all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of Topics. If you have any thoughts, please comment below. We look forward to hearing from you. See you next time.